Welcome to the ObstacleDominator.com podcast featuring Benny Gifford and Bracken Crocker. Whether you want to dominate your next obstacle race or just get started in obstacle racing, you're about to discover every tactic you need to know, from gear to training to nutrition. Get the latest tips from the trenches, get your questions answered, and show up at your next obstacle race ready to dominate. And now, here's Benny and Bracken.
Episode 11, folks. How's it going? Welcome back to the podcast. We have Leigh Ann. Believe it or not, it's not Wasteney, whatever. However, the commentators are saying it. It's Wasteney.
Wasteney.
Leigh Ann Wasteney. Princess Leigh Ann Wasteney is who we have interviewed today. And it was actually, I don't know, how'd you think it go, Bracken? I thought it was awesome. She was a very interesting person to talk to.
Yeah, there's way more to her that you can get into depth about. We just scratched the surface on this one, but we find out some things about Leigh Ann that I just never would have guessed. She is a hunter. She owns her own small business. She was not even a runner until her sophomore year of college. There's just so much to this woman that we're going to get into today.
Yeah, she was pretty fascinating. We ended it by saying, hey, we need to have you on for a second episode because we just, like Bracken said, scratch the surface here. We just scratched and sniffed her and found out there was more to sniff. So that is strange, but that's why people listen to us. So one thing we want to drive home is actually, Bracken, why don't you tell us what we got coming out in June?
Yes, we got some confirmation. The Obstacle Dominator training guide will be all smoothed out, professionalized, and ready to roll on the back end by June. So in June, your Obstacle Dominator training program will be ready, set up to take you all the way from June to OCR championship season. And we're excited about it. It is looking good.
I'm excited. It's going to look super sexy, and it's going to kick all the other plans' asses out there. Basically, if you have a coach, you can just kick him to the curb now, or her, because, our guide is all you're going to need.
Unless it's us. Unless you're currently working with us.
Unless you're working with us, then don't do that. We are all you need. No, so make sure you guys, you leave a review with actual feedback. Give us 5 stars. If you think we've earned 5 stars, that'd be fantastic. But what we really want is some feedback. What you like, what you don't like, if whatever. Don't need any more details. So with that, Bracken, you got anything more to say before we chat with Princess Leigh Ann?
Not a thing. Let's dive in. I said that for you, Benny. You hate people say dive in.
I do hate, but let's dive.
All right, Leigh Ann, you are part of what I would consider kind of the new guard of the women's side of OCR. You weren't the person who was here like right from the beginning and got all the fans like very well acquainted with your name from the start. You're someone who's come on more recently in the past few years. And as a result, I would say that the vast majority of the sport knows who you are, but they don't really know you. Like, they know Rose's intimate story. They know Amelia and everything she's been through and how all these people got to this sport. So if you don't mind, I'd love to take a step backwards and work up to how you became the Leigh Ann we know, how you got into the sport. So take us back to childhood. What laid the groundwork for where we are now?
Okay, well, if you want me to go that far back.
Yeah, way back.
So I grew up on a farm in Oregon. And so, like, just at a young age, like, you learned to work really hard. Like, you worked all summer, you held your own. We were the free slave labor on the farm. But I also had an older sister. She's 2 years older. And we're just super competitive individuals. And so we also were close enough that we still got to play sports together. But I feel like I was the younger one who was always trying to be like the older sister, so I was always having to raise my game or play at a higher level if I wanted to be able to like compete with her or with her friends or whatever it was. So anyways, I started playing different sports, when I was little. I think I did.
Growing up on a farm, the amount of hours in your day that had to be dedicated to making everything run, did that interfere with the age that you were able to start competing and being part of team or individual sports?
I don't think so. I think that my parents were super supportive. Like, if we wanted to do something, they made it happen. And I feel like that was still back in the day before you played a sport year round. So you could play in season and you'd have your summer off and then you'd come back in the fall and play it in school.
Well, Princess Leia, I want to know, what kind of farm was it? Are we talking like agriculture? Did you guys have like livestock or what?
A little both. The main income was grass seed. So a lot of like tractor driving, combine driving, swather. And then we had cows and sheep. And then we also had filbert orchards, or what people know as hazelnuts.
Do you milk the cow? Get some of that milking action?
No, they were just beef cows, so no milking of the cow.
Oh, poor Bessie. You ate her at the end of the day? Do you ever eat any of your animals?
Yeah, totally.
Look at that cringe face. I had to do that too. I was raised raising broilers or chickens and hens. The broilers we would eat, and it sucked because I always named them, and my parents were always like, stop naming them. I figured out why the first time that we decided to eat them. So I feel you on that one.
Yeah.
Leigh, how old were you when you were first allowed to go solo on a combine?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I mean, honestly, probably like 9 or 10.
That's pretty awesome.
I feel like that's, what is that, like 4th or 5th grade? And I feel like that's around when, hey, you got the, I mean, they're pretty easy to drive, honestly. So even now they're like GPS driven, so you don't have to do anything. So
yeah, my dad grew up on a Holstein cow farm, like a pretty huge one, and he would tell me stories about how he was driving tractor equipment the size of this house when he was like 4 or 5 years old. And I'm like, yeah, that's when you get what's the child organization? What is it called?
CPS doesn't go out into the rural.
No.
No, not unless it's really bad.
Yeah, you see some crazy stuff on the farms with the age kids, but it's cute.
So you were competitive driven partially because of your sister and her friends and stuff growing up. Were there any particular sports that caught your eye, or was it really just anything that you could be competitive with?
Well, when I was really little, I loved soccer. But then that kind of conflicted with eventually the volleyball season, and that hands down is my favorite sport. Don't ask me why, I just think it's so fun. And I think part of it's the teamwork. Like you have to involve all 6 people on that court to like make it function like correctly. So I ended up going into volleyball, and the other sports I did was swim team and tennis. And so I didn't even run in high school. I had no idea that I would like it ever.
Tennis is deceptive. You can clock some miles just playing like a couple hours on that court. If you like leave a fitness watch on and you track it. When I was living in Park City with Hunter and who else was out there? I don't remember, but we started playing tennis and we were out there for like 2 hours, and I don't remember what it was, but it was several miles, and we were all like, what the crap? We haven't moved.
Yeah. And it's funny because you'll get really strong legs because you have to stop and like switch directions all the time. No, it was really fun. We were successful. We won state my senior year in volleyball and tennis.
Oh, wow.
But I didn't pick up running until college, and that's kind of where my now husband comes in, because he was that big runner that I'd ran for enjoyment occasionally, and that's kind of how our relationship started, was we would go on runs together. But I just went to a small school to play volleyball, and I had an awesome coach or track coach there that just asked if I wanted to, maybe he could identify the crazies that want to go like suffer for long hours, and I don't know, but he asked if I would want to try out track. And so anyways, I walked on my sophomore year, and eventually by my senior year, I got into the steeple, and really that was my jam.
So you started out in college as a volleyball player.
Mm-hmm.
What did you play? Were you a libero?
I was.
Yeah.
When you're 5'4", that's about all you can do.
You kind of get pigeonholed into that.
Yeah.
So you went into college to play volleyball, which is one of the, I would say, least distance-oriented conditioning sports that you'll find.
I know, but I rocked that preseason mile because we always had to run the mile, and that was my one claim to fame for the volleyball team. So.
Is that how he found out about you?
It might have been. It was such a small school, and all the coaches are in the same office.
Do you remember what you ran?
Oh God, at that time it was probably only like a 5:40, but compared to all the other volleyball team, like teammate.
Yeah, it speaks to untapped potential.
Yeah.
So you walked on. Did you give up your volleyball spot, or did you try to do both concurrently?
I was able to do both. I had really supportive coaches, and I even by my senior year, I did a couple of their cross country meets, and we got to nationals because they basically needed like one more girl to fill the roster, like the top 5
So
that
you
are.
were a 3-sport collegiate athlete.
But it's a small school. That makes it sounds like getting more credit.
But still, to balance 3 seasons doesn't matter the size of your populace. 3 seasons, 3 seasons. That's very, very rare.
It was so fun though. Like my senior year was so great because we got to go to nationals in cross and in track, and so it was really fun.
Wow.
Before we get too far along in here, I want to do something. I want to start making our guests do this, actually, especially the new to OC or new-ish to OCR ones do it. I want you to put yourself in a nutshell as to who you are and why people should be interested in listening to you on this episode, because obviously we have you on here for a reason, and I've heard your name 1,000 times, and anybody watching the live coverage of the series this year knows your name. But, you know, like Bracken was saying, you're part of the new guard. You know, old guard, everyone can rattle off, you know, wins for people and their background and you know, their little sob story and stuff like that. So what's some big finishes you've had?
You know, I was thinking about that.
You're going to derail our conversation right now to jump ahead to OCR finishes?
No, we can come back. I'm just trying to like edify our guest a little bit from the beginning so that people know who they're listening to.
I mean, that's what the show notes are for, Benny.
Nobody reads the flipping show notes.
You have to see
I read show notes. That's how I decide what to listen to.
Exactly. Here we're on a roll, starting to build through time, creating who Leigh Ann is, and now we're going to skip forward to what she's done.
A brief summary, and then we'll get to it.
Well, I don't support this, but go for it, Leigh.
Okay, so I was thinking about this though. I feel like I don't have a ton of these huge credentials because I've pretty much only selected to run like the NBC races. And so as far as like tons of podiums, I mean, those are the hardest ones to hit. But I did.
But you did hit. You broke through in Utah.
I did. In Utah, I got on the podium. I got third. And then let's see, I got my rookie year in 2017 as far as like doing the actual series and trying, like having a coach and everything. By the end of the year, I got fifth at West Virginia. So that was pretty cool because it was like I tried to get there all year and I finally got in the top 5 at that main race. Let's see what else. I mean, I won the Las Vegas Super last year, which Alyssa was at that one.
But it sounds like you're targeting the races that actually mean something as far as creating a career goes in the sport and facing the top. So that, kind of keys me and the listeners into you're not really dicking around. You're here to make a name for yourself because 1, you've identified that you're competitive and you have the ability to do this at a high level. And 2, it's what you want. So I kind of want to know why it's what you want. Like you've had the college run and, I just want to know what's keeping you around the sport. Like what gets you going with OCR?
Well, if you'd let me finish my original story, Benny.
Oh, sorry.
Like when I was done with college, I just really had this void of, I think most athletes go through it. You all of a sudden go from having, something to really work and train towards to having like, oh, okay, I'm supposed to go get a job and like enter the real world. And that's not as much fun. And so anyways, I eventually found CrossFit and really liked it. But again, at like 5'4", like 114 on a good day, like I'm never going to be a CrossFit athlete. And so, but I was always the runner that had like huge like deltoids and biceps in comparison to these other teeny weeny little girls. And so when I discovered this Spartan racing, it kind of felt like this spot where I fit, and it was so fun, and it was kind of like an adult steeplechase. And so that's what, it keeps me coming back is that it gives me an outlet to be competitive, but it also, I love the training, and I think you really have to enjoy the process in this sport. You can't just live for the outcome of a race or for a race, because it's a long season and it's not like you get to race every single day or every single weekend. But I love the training. I love getting to go on trail runs for it, or hill climbs, but you also get to go to the gym and you have to be able to be strong and you have to lift and do like functional training. And I don't know, and then you get to have that reward when you do come to a race, to just know you put in that work and you just to get to go have fun and celebrate what you did. So I don't know. And you always walk away feeling like there was something you could have done better. And so then you just keep signing up for races, So.
Yeah, that feedback loop is very different from track. So the track, you talked about it, like you can't put too much stock in OCR in one race. And track's kind of the opposite. Like you get maybe one race ever and that you pop your time and that's it. And then suddenly you're in nationals. And then, so you can have 2 good races all year and you've had a great year. But at the same time in track, it seems like 90% of the time, the most talented runner wins. And there's some gamesmanship that can happen if it turns into a tactical race. But if the best person there just wants to go out and push from the start, everyone's kind of at their mercy. And OCR doesn't seem to be that way, where the best person wins more often than not, but whether suddenly someone's hands just won't work that day, or they can't run a certain terrain, and there's mountain courses, there's flat courses, like one race can't dictate your season because everyone's up and down. So with track, what kind of runner were you? Did you get out front and dictate the pace, or did you like to play it more tactically?
Well, being so new, like I had no base behind me, you come out your sophomore year and you're like, oh gosh, you guys run every single day. And that was never something that ever even crossed my mind. And so then it was just like building a base for that first year. But by my senior year, with the steeplechase, I loved truly racing. So like I would go out with kind of a general pace. I wanted to maybe like, your rhythm that you're going to probably need to hold. But that race is also like an exponential pain. Like it doesn't, you can't gauge it like you would another race. Pretty soon by lap 4, it's like a red zone to the max instead of being able to like slowly get there just because of all the jumps and water pits.
Right.
So, I would head out with kind of like, okay, that first mile, I want to maybe try and hit this pace. But then after that, it was like you're running with your heart and your gut,
Yeah.
And just to hang on. And I think that's part of why I also love OCR is I feel like I'm a better racer at the last half of the race, where all you can really do is like hold on. You can't think anymore. You're kind of like running with your gut and your heart, and you're almost going off instinct, and which I think is more fun anyways than being wrapped up in your head. But
there's similarities between the two, steeple and OCR. Doesn't matter what pace you get out at. Once you're a mile or so in, everyone's hurting.
Yeah.
Except maybe if whoever's leading is head and shoulders above everyone, they might be a little more comfortable. But
you're Nicole Miracle.
Yeah, for the most part, the second half of steeple and the second half of OCR is don't die, don't die, don't die, don't die. Whereas a lot of races are hold back. We're going to really explode into something. And that doesn't happen in OCR. You can sit as long as you want and then you fail something, or you hit a climb and you don't have energy left.
It's almost more like you have to plan, like, okay, if something might not go as I want it to, what is plan B, what's plan C, and what's like, okay. And then if it's really sucky, where's my mental plan going to take me?
Yeah.
So with the whole approach being try and survive the last half of the race and just don't die, it makes me think about the feeling you get when you race short course, which is just don't die from the very beginning, especially when someone like Nicole is. I feel like it's like that for the women on most of the longer races anyways, because Nicole makes you have to die from the beginning to even keep her in sight. But I was thinking about the difference between a savage race. It's like a 5 to 8 mile race where you're not really dying until this, last quarter of the race or last half. And then something like a stadium race where if you're not dying right off the bat, then someone's probably pulling away from you. So what do you find as more appealing? The kind of personal growth and like weird grind that comes from the longer races, or have you ever even flirted with that short course? Like you don't even have time to think. It's just try not to die the entire time.
I haven't done any of the short stuff. The closest I have is just the sprint Spartan races, like the day after. I've done those to kind of practice. And with those, it's really hard for me because I'm not used to going out and just redlining from the get-go. So, you know, I enjoy the longer races, like the beast courses. I feel like are more my jam because it's like it's like stuff doesn't fully turn on till like 3 miles in, and then it's like, okay, now I'm like hitting my groove and I'm hitting all the gears. But it takes me a while and maybe even to feel that necessity that I have to go. So yeah, I'm definitely more the longer course person.
It's interesting coming from a race that probably never took you longer than 11 minutes.
I know.
To suddenly think, if it's not under an hour 11, I don't want to do it.
I know. It's weird. It's such a, I don't know, mentally, like you're going out for so much longer. Mm-hmm. It's just been different. Yeah.
Did you like cross in college more than steeple?
Oh, that's a hard question.
Did you enjoy cross country?
I loved cross country. Yeah. I wish I'd done it more. It didn't work out, but because they're very different races and I love them for different reasons. But I don't know. I think I liked the steeple more just because it had more entertainment in it.
So your progression from non-runner to runner, I think would resonate with a lot of people in this sport because you had like your collegiate career was kind of like a microcosm of a lot of people's OCR career where they have some sort of something happen in their life and then they find OCR and then as a result they start running. And so people have that, you know, how many times you hear like, well, I just started running 6 months ago. How much longer can I get better for? And I think you lived that in college. So what would you say? How long did it take from that moment you joined the track team and realized, oh, these girls run every day, to the point where you were not only comfortable running every day, but you felt like a runner?
You know, so I had trained to do a half marathon probably, like say January 1st that year I joined. And then I came out in the spring for track. And so I at least had a little bit of running, at least for 6 months, for like 3 months. But I would say that it took, you know, by the next year, it took a solid 6 months of like building a base to feel like, oh, I can hang with people. Like I probably could have ran that cross country season. But I would say it took a full year till it was like, okay, I can lead this pack of girls if I want to, you know. Not be the best one out there, but I can hang up there.
Yeah. And that's important for people to realize that it's not a quick process. A year is actually very quick, but at the same time, like by the time you were senior, you were able to say, all right, I'm going to go out and attack races, but that's years of already building up. And that's years of collegiate training.
You know, I want to draw a highlight to that is she said a year of running before she felt like a runner. It's taken me like 4 years before I finally started feeling like a runner. So do you think that's because of kind of a consistent, not quite filling in the aerobic foundation, but just constant activity through all the different sports that just primed you? Like you had built up all this work and then all you had to do was be consistent with running. And then suddenly it was like you had been doing 3 years worth of work, or you a genetic freak or what? I don't know. What do you think goes into that?
Well, I'll clarify. Like I still don't feel like I can tell when I'm against the really top girls in the sport, I still feel like I don't have those years under me that some of those girls do. And I think that there is just a longevity in the sport that definitely, you know, can help you or will show up later in like a long race or, you know, rookie mistake type stuff. But I will say that I was really into health and fitness like growing up. And so even if I wasn't necessarily running all the time, like, you know, swim team, you still are getting like aerobic activity the whole time and you're in the weight room. And I even though our high school sports didn't, you know, our volleyball program or whatever didn't necessarily focus on outside conditioning that much, I'd stay after practice and do it because I really liked it. And that carried over into college. So, you know, that's when the track coach really talked to me. It was like I was always in the weight room running or lifting or doing something and staying in good shape. And we had a huge training book we had to do for our volleyball collegiate program. I don't think anyone did it, but I loved that thing. And I did it like the whole summer leading up. So I'd say I still had like a good base under me, but maybe not just like you said, the running behind it. But
yeah, there's that concept that you hear a lot of high level people talk about where they say, man, there are levels to this game. And that's what this is. Like, talent shows from the beginning. Your coach saw it, to be on a national cross and track team, it came out quickly, but it still does take those years. And you talk about it, when I'm around, I know where the real runners are. I think that's how everyone feels. Everyone's fast in their pool, and then they meet a bigger fish, and you realize, oh, there are levels to this. Like, there's always someone that will make you feel like you're not a runner.
Yep. Totally.
That's just the way life is. And Nicole is kind of seen as the gold standard of running in our sport right now. And she's recently run into a few girls in the sport who probably make her feel like, oh, I'm not quite at that level of running yet. And that's just, there's always someone else out there. And that's what's
right, Nicole.
about running.
That's right, Nicole. This is Bracken Crocker talking shit about you on the Obstacle Dominator podcast.
I think that's a stretch. That's a reach, but I mean, I think she'd be the first to admit she's run up against a few girls in races where they are as good or better on the run side as she is. And that's always sobering when you see that next level, but that kind of separates people, the people who think that level frightens me, or, oh, I cannot wait to be that level.
Yeah. Yeah, Tia Reagan, I would say, is kind of someone who has jumped in and has brought the running game to a different level for OCR. It's just the obstacles sometimes hold her back. But as far as just flat out holding foot speed, I mean, it's amazing, I think.
Tia and Nell are, again, there's different levels, and they're at a level that a lot of the guys aren't at.
Yeah.
If you were to line up like the top 2 or 3 women and the top 200 men in a marathon, there's a good chance they go top 10.
Yeah.
And that's really scary for the guys to realize, like, we think we're good at what we do, but at a big component of what we do, we're not as good as some of the women.
Yeah. Amazing. I like how Benny has like 5 different hats going on over there.
Benny's got wardrobe changes between scenes going on.
I don't know what you're talking about. I've been wearing the same beanie the entire time.
Strange. So did a little stalking on you, Leigh Ann. And you, what year did you graduate college?
13.
Okay, so in 2012, you show up in the running scene, like outside of collegiate, where you start appearing in results places.
Mm-hmm.
And that was your second year of doing that Snake River Canyon half. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I did that to try and qualify for nationals.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember what you ran?
129-ish or so.
129 what? Let's see. Runners know. I feel like you could get pretty close here.
I want to say 129.55.
129.55 is correct.
What the crap?
So Benny, that's 6:51 per mile for 13.1 miles.
Hey,
And the fact that it says Snake River Canyon means that it's probably not the flattest course. Is that correct, Leigh Ann?
Actually, you'd be surprised. It was pretty flat. We were on a road. It just went like uphill mostly one way, but then downhill mostly the other way. Which I mean, that's kind of ideal in a sense, because you turn that corner and it's like, whoo, feel like you have a second wind, even though it's downhill a little bit. But
so back in 2012, you were already at a point where you could keep sub-7 pace for 13 miles. So you are already showing like this proclivity towards the endurance spectrum of what OCR was going to become for you. But then you just disappeared, at least with a digital footprint. There's not another race result for you until the Las Vegas Super. And that was your first, according to the internet, your first race post-collegiate. Was there anything else in there?
no, I think that was about it, because I feel like
So what happened? What were those 4 years for you post-collegiate, where you kind of hit those, what do I do with my life? I've been an athlete my whole life. What did you fill them with? And then what brought you to OCR?
that's kind of where I found CrossFit. I was working in a small town and, had this, I just kept hearing how hard CrossFit was. And so I was like, well, I want to try it, and anyways, then I fell in love with it, because it's like having your team again, because you see, same people and you're working out together. And again, doesn't have to be, but it's competitive. And so it really, fed that urge. And And I loved learning new things. Like I'd never been taught how to like properly Olympic lift or how to like handstand and walk or whatever, and or kipping pull-ups, like all that stuff or muscle ups. And so it was really fun to like that growth of learning something new. And so I did that for a couple years, and then actually got my L1 and was a coach. And so,
Can you do ring muscle ups?
I can.
Oh, super impressive.
I used to.
Can you not, Benny?
Strict one.
No, I can. That was just some random movement. Like usually I pick up like body movement things pretty easily, but for some reason that was like a weird mind fuck for me. Like I kept on, well, finally somebody just told me they described it in the right way that I was like, oh, I need to keep my elbows in. I was like trying to like chicken wing it or something. And they said, just keep your elbows in. And then I was like, oh, okay, I got it. But it was, it took me a few more attempts than I'd like to admit.
Well, you know what's funny is I could do the ring muscle up and I still struggle with bar muscle ups. So I don't know.
That's a weird one. You mean like, muscle ups. Okay, I was thinking the butterfly thing. No, I'll admit the butterfly took me forever. Doing butterfly pull-ups, that was the weirdest sensation. I could kip, no, like that just came naturally. It's like a cheating pull-up. It's like what you would do when you're really tired trying to do real pull-ups. And then the butterfly thing we had to learn for Tough Mudder X. And that was I could never string together more than 8 before I started going wonky. Speaking of which, when did you come into OCR? Like when was your first race?
My first one I dabbled in was 2016 in Las Vegas. That was where I just was like, you know, my husband had started trying to do ultras, and he jumped in some 40-mile race and got second place. And I was just like, who are you? It inspired me to like sign up for something. And because I'd been doing CrossFit and like, you know, playing around with competitions there, like little ones. But it wasn't really my thing. And then when I saw this race that kind of blended, you know, body weight strength with running, I really wanted to try it. And then it allowed me to kind of train running again. And anyways, it was super fun. I signed up for the elite wave. And the best part was when I was getting my stuff, the guy checking me in, I had no idea what any of this stuff was. I was like, how do I put this on or that? And he just looked at me like I was crazy that I'd sign up for the elite heat and had no idea what I was doing. He looked at me like, I'm so sorry, you're going to die today. I was like, oh, what did I sign up for? And I panicked. But it was, once we started running, it was so fun. And I ended up getting 6, but you get that roll down effect, you get your coin. And so I got to go, or was invited to go to Tahoe or whatever.
And it was what, like a super?
Yeah, it was a super.
Okay.
And it was, but anyways, that is what kind of started this whole ball rolling, because I just had so much fun in that race. And I just felt like I got to combine so many of these skills that I'd had.
I know I'm messing up Bracken's, his sweet flow of timeline here by jumping straight to this. But so when you came into it, did you immediately go crazy like everybody does and just like, oh my God, I'm going to sign up for all of them this year, or I'm going to start finding out what other race series there are? Or did you have like somebody that you started looking up to? Like, did you look at the 5 who beat you and then start like following them on Instagram, and then you found out about Lyndsey, or how'd that all go for you?
Kind of similar. I knew that I had so much fun. I wanted to do more of them, but I also had just started my own business like the year before. I own a little coffee shop. And so that's like a literally 7 days a week, 12 hours a day commitment. And when you're pretty brand new, it was pretty hard to just like, oh, I'm going to go travel and run these races that I make no money in, you know? And so I didn't get to do too much that first year, but I did. There was some more local, like the Battle Frog races, of course.
Hey, you did Battle Frog?
Yeah, I did their Portland one. I actually won that one. But, and I think I did their Seattle one. And so, yeah.
That's impressive. Those races were absolutely brutal. They were my favorite. How did you like them compared to the way kind of Spartan is now?
I liked them, but I will say I prefer the penalty instead of you got to get through it. Simply because I feel like that tests like your true, almost like your overall grit and fitness. where if you just, to me, you know, if you have to just get through this one obstacle, I feel like you're really isolating, oh, the person with the best grip is going to always win out over someone else. And I like the balance of like, oh, if you screw up, oh, well, you have to go do like the heart rate spike of 30 burpees. Like, I don't feel like that's a small penalty to pay. I feel like it absolutely sucks, but it makes it that much more like challenging to stick back in that race.
I see what you're saying about the grit, because it's like if you hit a wall and you physically can't do an obstacle, you're out, and there's no grit that's going to get you through it. But couldn't you then say the same thing about Spartan, which is like the common thing that a lot of people say, which is, well, it just become a runner's game, because like Woods is the perfect example when you could just come in and do 90 burpees and still ended up on the podium, which is not really the case anymore, but you can still place really high.
That's true. I mean, I don't really have an argument back for that. That's probably totally just my runner bias coming through.
Well, I do, Benny. I have an argument back for that.
All right.
Show me the list of people who are doing 90 burpees and getting podiums. The only time it's happening is on like the nastiest of nasty courses, but it just doesn't happen. Like if you do more than 30 and your name's not Lyndsey, or occasionally Ryan, I would even say Ryan has never done more than 60 and made a podium.
Yeah.
Those are extreme outliers.
That's definitely the extreme ugly end of the burpee thing. But then, I mean, I'm just beating a dead horse here with the Albin example of that. In our shortest course with the most obstacle dense race we've ever had, the fastest runners still won. And so
of course.
Yeah.
But let's also not, we keep coming back to that, but let's not forget the fact that he's not just the fastest runner. He might be the best overall athlete. Right. But we've also seen that he's far from the top obstacle list. No, we haven't seen that. We've seen he's never been pushed on obstacles. No, he lost. He lost. He failed obstacles. You remember that series that he was pretty angry about because he lost? I forget. It was like the European Championships or something, and he ended up losing because the grip strength was too much. No, that was like the one race ever he failed anything ever. I think it's the only thing he's ever failed, and it was just a kind of a freak occurrence, and they ended up changing the course the next day and even partway through that day because they realized they'd made a mistake. Because they took the standard that, okay. No, I mean, OCR Worlds is currently the hardest grip strength obstacle course in the world. Currently. No. Go to South Africa. What's harder than OCR Worlds? South Africa. Why do you think the South Africans show up and never have a problem? It's because they're used to a series that is harder than that. Also the Swedes and... Okay, second hardest in the world. And John's never had an issue ever. He goes through all the toughest races and does that difficult obstacle lane where a lot of the good obstaclers don't even bother with that because the monkey bars and the rigs are too long. I think John's spectacular on obstacles. And he doesn't even try to do spectacular things because he's so far ahead. He just cruises through obstacles. His grip strength, in my opinion, on the men's side is second only to Ryan Atkins. Well, we'll shelf this for the next solo Benny and Bracken episode, and we can have a little throwdown with this. Maybe we'll bring Jack back on to moderate it. But okay. As long as you're aware that you'll lose this one. Yeah, I don't think so. Speaking of the greats, before we get back to you, Leigh Ann, a fan, Ron, I don't remember his last name, but he was just telling me that he's good friends with the Moat family, Cody Moat, and he gave me some clarity on what we were hearing rumors about Hobie and Cody coming back to do the Spartan World Championships, even though it's on Sunday and they're both LDS, and with their kids getting involved with the kids Spartan Championships. I'm pulling it up right now to see exactly what he told me. Oh, look, it's voice messages, so that's not going to help. But basically, he was saying that they're kind of putting out a petition. They're trying to talk right now with Joe to get it switched from Sunday to Monday, and that to Saturday, and that it is kind of true. And they're trying to get. If that doesn't end up happening, then they're just going to throw down in West Virginia, I think. Is that?
Oh, that'd be cool. Yeah.
Which would be super cool to have those two come back. And that brings me back to completing that question that I asked you. Who were the people that you kind of like looked up to when you came into the sport? Who were the greats for you?
Yeah. So that it's funny because it was like the first people you kind of slowly find on Instagram or whatever. And it was people like Faye and Lyndsey, Rose, and then you found Alyssa and there was anybody else, and then on the guy side, like, Hobie Call comes up, Cody Moat comes up, Ryan Atkins. And I think Ray and Nicole kind of popped up the following year. as more like being up there. But that it is funny because you really look up to them as far as like, oh wow, that's so cool what they're doing, and getting kind of ideas like how they train or who their coaches are, or just being more excited about the sport. And so it is really cool when that next year when you're actually like out there competing, you're like, oh, I'm legitimately like running with them by the end of the year, and kind of like that full circle. You almost have to step away and not look at it the same way, because you have to view them as almost equals if you're going to compete with them,
Right. So with, I'm sure you noticed there, Bracken was able to just point to two people who have the best grip strength in the sport. And everyone knows, John Albin and Ryan Atkins. What's your specialty, or actually the opposite? What's like your biggest Achilles heel? Is it carrying heavy? Yeah. Is it carrying heavy shit up mountains? Is it obstacles? Is it just trying to keep up with the runner?
Spear. I can't make a freaking spear. The last, God, there's the last few races, if I just made my spear, I would have been at least 2 places up, because you can probably guess there's at least 2.5 minutes just sitting there doing burpees. Doesn't even count with like then your tired legs moving forward. So that's my friend.
Who's coaching you right now?
What'd you say?
I want to get into your training later, but who's coaching you right now?
Her name's Sandra Jaworski.
Sandra, you need to figure the spear throw out. You're about to become a really big name in OCR if you can figure this spear throw out for Leigh Ann.
I think I just need to practice more. Like, I don't have a good target. I just go out and like, okay, I'm going to throw it. And that doesn't cut it when you're then trying to hit a target under pressure. So.
Did you stick it in Bama?
I got it both days in Jacksonville, and then I failed it in Alabama, and I missed it both days in Seattle.
Man, that was a messy one coming through the swamp there, and you guys had already, I think, gotten your hands dirty at that point. What do you think it is? It's just the fact that you haven't practiced it, or a mental thing, or you're going into it too quickly?
I go through the same mental routine every time. I literally just think I have bad aim. Like, every time I either don't throw it hard enough or I miss it just to the right. Like, they're never terrible throws, but they just miss.
How often have you put in a good block of spear training in practice?
I know I can do it. It just...
I know. That's a real question. How often have you trained it?
Oh. Yeah, see, like... a couple times a week leading up to the race.
So I'm not here to lecture you, but
that's what I need.
If an NFL placed kicker started kicking field goals, in the week leading up, and then missed a couple, he's like, man, if I just had a field goal to practice on, people like get your ass to the field and kick some field goals on a field. Or if like an NBA player just thought, you know what, if I shot instead of just at the side of this building, if I shot on a hoop, I bet my free throw percentage would be higher.
I know. I need to hear that.
And this isn't criticizing you, but like you're at the point now where your spear throw is not only costing you money, but sponsorship and stuff.
Yeah.
You're a professional athlete now.
Right?
Get your shit together, Leigh Ann.
I know.
You got to nail that spear.
No, you're right. It's funny because I'm so diligent on like the physical training and the strength training, the mental training, but yeah, I'm half-assing. I think it's so in my mind. Oh, it's a spear throw. I can hit that, and then I show up on race day and I don't. So. All
right, Leigh Ann, let's make a pact, both you and I, okay? Because what Bracken is saying is kind of speaking to some hidden stuff. I've been like, I need to do that, but I haven't done that yet. The spear throw freaks me out, even though I never ever miss it, because of this one video I saw of me throwing the spear when I was totally confident, and literally I have no idea the physics of how it ended up sticking, because in the video, it's like, no, there's no way that's going to hit. Like, it's flying completely sideways and somehow it sticks perfectly. But ever since then, just reviewing the footage, I get such a spike of fear, even though I knew I hit it, that I was like, oh my God, like all your training is like wasted for some stupid little thing that you just didn't practice. So I have 2 spears with me, and I've just been too lazy because I'm thinking about the layout of my backyard and what the neighbors are going to think seeing me throwing spears and stuff like that. So let's, by the time this episode comes out, let's have a hay bale or a deer target or something strapped up to a tree or a freaking mattress or whatever it takes. And I'll text you a picture of mine. and I'll just post
That's
it.
Benny's classic line. Don't fall for it, Leigh Ann.
She is married, my friend. You watch yourself. No. You post it to your Instagram story, and I'll post it to mine. All right, on Friday when this episode comes out.
Friday. Got
Sweet.
it.
All right.
All right. So outside of spear, as you transitioned over from track and cross country to CrossFit to OCR, what was the biggest hurdle that you faced? What was the hardest part of getting good at OCR for you? Was it the obstacles? Was it the transitions? Was it just the running? Was it technical terrain?
I would say technical terrain a little bit. Like, you're so used to running on either a nice, clean trail or road running that, they make us just go over random crap, in these races. And I would say that was different than what I was used to for sure. But, I think that CrossFit had given me a really good grip strength and a strong core, but I would say probably the hardest part for me was the carries originally. Just because you're in your track life or even in your CrossFit life, you're not just carrying heavy buckets or sandbags around in your training. And I would say that was something that I really had to spend time on.
Okay. Leigh Ann, do you have Alien from Alien versus Predator sneaking around behind the camera or something? Do you guys hear that?
Yeah. It sounds like someone going.
Oh, I assumed that was Benny. That wasn't me. Or I
That's
don't.
what I assumed.
No, what can you guys see? Like, can you only see the person who's talking?
I see all three.
Yeah, I see all three.
Okay. Because I didn't know if I was like spying and you guys can, oh man, you guys can see all three? I thought I was being sneaky with this hell hat situation over here, but I realized you could see me the whole time. Not cool. But anyways, hopefully the alien thing is gone. Okay, I'm sorry. Go back to what you were saying about run.
Oh, that was about it. Like that was, and bringing my running game up to speed was just, my coach has been awesome about, she is definitely, like, I'm running faster than I ever would have just in track. So, or on my own. When I tried to train on my own, I just became like a mileage junkie and I ended up burning out. So
let's talk about that. We like talking training here. What are you doing successfully now in training? What does training look like for you?
So
you don't have to give away the secret.
No, I won't. I don't think there's that many secrets, but I take one day off a week and then I do 2 big workouts each week. I used to do 3, and this year she has me just doing 2 big ones, and I think it's kind of a longevity of the season.
I'm on the same exact thing, actually.
Yeah, it's just such a long season. When we start in February now, you have to just really be careful. And so and then I just do a really nice long run. Like right now I'm up to 18 miles on my long run.
So do you count a long
Holy
run
crap.
as a quality day or no?
Sorry, say that again.
Do you count a long run as a quality day, or is that in addition to 2 big workouts?
That's an addition. So right now I have 2 like more speed-based workouts that might include now, instead of just speed, like hill repeats or something like that. And then I have the long workout a long run each week. And then I'm having a semi-long run, like a 10-ish to 12-mile one throughout the week too. And then the rest are just maintenance ones. And then I strength train kind of like 2.5 days.
I'm a believer in that midweek, like moderate long run as well. I like having that secondary supporting long run in there.
Yeah, I think it's that's one of my favorite things, is just go out on a trail and not really have to hit any kind of goal or pace and just enjoy it. And so I love having that midweek. This is my time to just cruise and really enjoy myself.
Are you building in volume right now, or are you kind of holding steady?
Yeah, I definitely have been building. I'd say originally I was anywhere from like 48 to maybe like 58 miles. And gosh, last week when I added it up, I did some extra stuff just for fun, like with my husband, but I ended up almost hitting 70 miles. I did like 69.
Yeah, wait, how is your week stacked if your long run is like an 18-mile run and you were mostly hitting 40 to 50 miles? Like, are you running very little on the other days?
Well, I was going to say that's been building. Like for a while, my long run was only 12, 13 miles when I was on the shorter end.
Bracken, Why am I not running anything more than 8-mile runs? I feel like
What's your goal race this year?
Yeah, it's short course. You're
3K
right.
short course and the 100 meter?
Yeah, but you're right.
All right, Leigh Ann, you're a track runner. You're on 3K steeple for a 3K base, 3K and under athlete in April of a year where you're peaking for October. What would your long run be in April for a 3K runner?
Well, hold on, but it's 5K length in time.
Okay, let's say if that's fair.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I don't think I'd go over 12, 13 for your long run. I just don't think it's necessary.
Wait, but you would go over 8.
Well, that's true. You're in April, though. I mean, I would I don't know, 10 to 12. But I've always been on the longer end of the spectrum. So I'm a bad person to ask because I feel like I do well with that.
I haven't. I'm coming from no volume background, so I guess it makes sense that Bracken's, he's keeping an eye out for me. He's trying to make sure I don't injure myself. I love you.
The long game here, Benny.
You're right.
The long game.
That's
my goals are pretty fun.
You were a mileage junkie for a little bit there on your own. What if you're up to 70 now and feeling, I assume, in control doing that?
Mm-hmm.
What were you at when you kind of started that burnout trail?
Well, granted, this was with like attempting to do like one hard workout a week and still doing CrossFit way too much. So, it was kind of like an overall just trying to do too much. And it was because I enjoyed it all. Like, it wasn't like I forced it. It was just like, oh, I want to do this. I want to do this. But I probably got up to like 75, but like consistently, like now it's like, oh, I might hit maybe that 68 like one time, and then we're going to taper back down for a race.
How many days a week of CrossFit were you doing at 75 per week?
Oh, at least 4, maybe 5.
That's like 90, 95 miles, maybe even 100 mile a week.
It was so bad.
In terms of stress? So consistently running 75s with 4 days of CrossFit and a quality day, that's a week right there.
And that's where it totally led to burnout, though. Like, my hormones were like in the tank, and that's when you're like, okay, I need to get a coach. There needs to be some smart, like someone reining you back or just planning, put that volume in a smart, smart buckets throughout the week, not just, oh, I feel like running 13 again today. And
this was without adding that coffee shop to the mess, right?
That was the other thing. That was the year after starting it.
Oh my gosh. What's the matter with you people? I haven't had like a consistent day-to-day job for like 8 years. I'm a contractor. I just book my own events. And the days where I book like a week-long event that's going to have me working hours that normal people work, by the end of the week, I'm like, I need to go get high on the mountain for a week and no one can talk to me ever again. I need to recover from this crap. Like, you people are insane. And then you add kids to it also and spouses. It's like, what the crap?
Well, it's funny you say that because when I was doing that, I was like 24 and it was like, oh, I had energy all day long. And my husband and I, we lived 5 hours apart at that time. So I was like trying to fill my day with plenty of things because, then you're never noticing like, oh, I missed someone. But it's funny looking back now because I'm that way. I now live 13 hours away from my business and run it from afar. And when I go back to work for like a week out of the month, it totally drains me. And I'm like, oh my God, I used to do this like all the time. But it just shows you how much like I hire people now that are like in their 22, they're like 20, 21, and they want to work all the time. Like they were just like I was. And it's just funny that you're like, wow, what happened in those 4 years that I just like don't have the energy anymore.
I wonder if it's age or if it's just you just get used to a certain thing and you just get desensitized to it.
Or you get smart and you want your like quiet time. I don't know.
So speaking of quiet time, 5 hours apart, what led to you and your husband living 5 hours apart?
It was me wanting to start my own business, and I could buy one in my hometown and like turn it around. So it was just a really good opportunity. And he still had a really good job where we'd gone to school and college. So it was just kind of one of those decisions that we weren't married at the time, and we were like, okay, if it works out, it works out. But we needed, now I look back and I'm really glad that we had to go through that portion of being apart, because it really makes you be your own person. You don't just rely on someone else making you happy or completing you.
Yeah.
Now it's to really enjoy each other.
I think the long distance aspect of my last relationship was probably the happiest we ever were before we moved in together, when every time seeing each other, which I understand this may not be the greatest thing, but it was like a vacation thing. Like when we saw each other, everything was fantastic and it was amazing. And then we would go back to fulfilling ourselves in our own lives. And then it was kind of just like we enhanced each other's happiness instead of being so flippin' intertwined that it was like this mess. Like there was no separation of people. It was just like either we are happy or we are miserable. Like there was no separation of self.
Yeah, no, it's true. And now it's funny because now we're like, best friends, and it's really hard to, like, I couldn't do that again. But I think at that age we were at and where we were at in our relationship, it was actually really healthy for both of us to like, okay, you go develop you and you develop you. And now we can be like, okay, we don't want to do that again because we really enjoy each other.
That's awesome. I think that's a really cool key to starting a long-term successful relationship. So where is hometown for you? Like where are you located?
So I currently live in Idaho. We moved here almost a year ago because my husband got kind of his dream job in, when I say Idaho, everyone thinks of like dirt, brown, flat, but we live in like the mountains.
What, like up by Teton?
It's by Sun Valley. Some people know Sun Valley, Idaho.
I went to Rexburg. I went to BYU, Idaho. So I'm familiar with that part of Idaho, but I don't know what you're talking about.
It's, I don't know. It's like in the Sawtooth Mountains. And
so like super north?
It's actually really central. Because up north
Close,
gets kind of rainy.
Shut up, Bracken.
But
super north central.
I'm trying to take it stabs here, okay?
It's okay. Since we're new here, people say towns. I'm like, I don't know. But it's kind of actually like a really touristy spot. A lot of celebrities have houses in Sun Valley. We live like 15 miles just south where it's cheaper, where normal people live.
I'm pulling you up on the own Google.
Yeah.
Did you pull yourself away from posting to Instagram? I just got tagged in 3 things by you, Benny.
Hey, I can multitask like a mofo, all right?
But my hometown is where I grew up, like the farm and where my coffee shop is, and that's in Monmouth, Oregon.
Oh, yeah, that's a gorgeous area. I see.
Should you be seeking to set up another coffee shop in Idaho?
Everyone asks me that, but it's like having a new child, and I'm not ready to go there yet.
It's understandable.
Yeah, and the other thing is the one that we have in Oregon, like I love my employees. They're like my second family, and so I still go back once a month and work for like a week and check in with them and everything, and it's just so busy, but it's also fun and allowing me to really live kind of like a pro athlete lifestyle as far as like when I'm not there, I do just get to train, I get to recover, really just live a life that I didn't get to live over there because it was so busy.
You have altitude up there?
Yeah, we're about 5,400 feet.
Nice.
That's a good place to be at. You can go up if you need to, go down if you need to.
Yeah, and it's really nice because when I do travel back, it's at ground zero, and so it's actually pretty nice because I'll go back maybe like the week before my races and get like full recovery because it's just harder to recover at elevation.
Right.
So
your husband
works pretty good. Mm-hmm.
Your husband, he was a collegiate runner, right?
Mm-hmm.
Would you say that he was more or less successful than you?
Oh, he ran at U of O and he was way more successful.
But he was actually at University of Oregon?
Yep.
What did he run there?
He ran the 800 and the 1500 for the
Good
most.
man.
Yeah.
That's what I ran in college. Slower than your husband.
What was that?
I said that's what I ran in college, but slower than your husband.
Well, I don't know. You can look him up.
Well, if
sure he did.
Oregon, I was slower than him.
He ran for 2 years, and then he actually went and wrestled his 3rd year, and he got because I know he's just one of those freaks that's good at stuff, and but then he transferred to where I was after that because they cut the wrestling program. He just got burnt out running because it's insane amount of just high intensity mileage and workouts.
And so he went to ultras.
He runs ultras. Yeah. Now he's like the elevation junkie that just wants to run up and up and up and up and up and more. So
do you train together at all?
When we have time, we do. Like when we were back in Oregon, he had a lot more spare time and we would train a lot together. Because then the paces are similar, right? Because I'm going fast, but he doesn't have to go as fast. So he would actually do a lot of my stuff with me just to be supportive. Nice. But now he has to work a lot more. And I'd say that we still train quite a bit on the weekends together, or maybe before work. But since I have the luxury to like wait and do my workout when I want to, we don't train together.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So Leigh Ann, what an obstacle race?
Yeah, actually I talked him into doing some, and the best part, he did the Tahoe race in 2017, and he just had to sign up for, one of the normal waves, and I think he signed up for like competitive.
Normies.
Whatever one you can do without qualifying. And that little turkey had to do 300 burpees because he's not.
Oh my God.
But he was first in his category because he was just such a good runner. And I was just like, that's not fair.
That might be the most that I've ever heard of out of a successful race.
Yeah, because he doesn't have that like upper body coordination because he's just never done it. He didn't do CrossFit or he didn't do weight training.
300 burpees. That is absolutely brutal. And all in Tahoe when it's cold and you're at altitude. And that just sounds absolutely horrible. But we want to respect your time. We're coming up on our time. There's a couple things that I wanted to nail down. We're going to have you on again because I feel like we've just scratched the surface of stuff we can get out of you. The content we can squeeze out of Princess Leigh Ann. And one of the things I want to do, which used to be a staple of Obstacle Dominator that we totally slipped on, Bracken, and I really want to bring back, is Trash Talk City. Yep, I love watching the girls react to it. What is your best, who's your target this year? And don't just tell me a race. Who are you looking to beat? Who are you looking to smash into the curb?
It's so funny. I knew this question might come up just from listening to you guys' podcast. And
I put this all on Benny. I take no share in this, Leigh Ann.
Funny because that's something that's really switched this year, and I'm being totally honest by the fact that I have really switched my focus. When I line up on that start line, I pretend I'm racing invisible and that no one can see me, and that so that way the media doesn't bug me, someone passing me, no one else knows about it. It doesn't affect me mentally if no one can see me. I'm out there purely for myself and purely for the joy of it. And I still want to be competitive and chase those people, but it's almost like there's no ego gratification in it if I'm invisible. And that might make zero sense to people who are out there to fulfill the ego part. But it has allowed me to step up on that line and be there for all the right reasons. And so it's just because I feel like in the past when I've gone out there being I'm getting in the top 5 or I'm getting in the top 3, then I had the shittiest races, or at least the shittiest mental races, because as soon as something didn't go, I wasn't where I wanted to be or didn't go as planned, it was the race just mentally tanked.
I'm completely on board with you. I'm trying to keep the spirit of patron Saint Hooten here alive with the trash talking, but I've been completely on board with what you're saying since the beginning of racing. But this year I've had to kind of revamp, intentionally staying in the spirit of what you're talking about, because I've gotten so caught up in thinking about, trash talk and making bets with people about who's going to win what and blah, blah, that I get so caught up on thinking about people during workouts and stuff like that, that even if a race goes exactly at my best effort, I didn't do anything stupid and screw up, it was my best effort, and I don't beat the people I wanted to beat, I feel like crap. And that's so dumb, because it's dude, if you ran a perfect race and gave it everything you had and you're feeling like crap, then you got to figure out what you're doing wrong. And that's something I've historically always had right. And I think I need to come back a little bit, because it's not fun when you give everything you've got and then you don't get a rewarding feeling at the end of it. You just get more shit feeling. So I'm spot on with you there.
What have you seen as a result? Have you seen, has this had an instant impact on your racing?
You know, the best example is last Utah. I went into that race, you know, I had felt like my placements hadn't really shown like where I knew I could be. And so I was like, okay, I got to totally dump that then if that's affecting my enjoyment of, you know, sport. And so I went into Utah and the goal was, I'm pretending I'm invisible today. This is for pure joy. And if people do see me, it's to be inspiring. Like if someone can see what I'm doing is inspiring to them, then that's a successful day. And as long as I do my best, like I know in every moment I did all I could, then I'm going to be super proud of myself. And then I ended up hitting the podium. So that is an example where I would say that by changing the mental game, completely changed the outcome.
I like that.
Jacksonville kind of did that too. Granted, 6 doesn't sound like anything great, but there was so much talent on that start line that I remember lining up there and being like, all right, if you get in the top 10, like, we'll be proud because this is like legit girls through top 10. And so I just stood on that line and I was like, you're probably not in your best shape yet. It's February and you're just going to go run your own race. You're going to have fun. And this is a chance to work on muddy obstacles and look at it nothing more than trying to just see where you're at. And anyways,
You know, there may be many other people out there with a mentality similar to this, but I think that the one who has showed it the most, I think is partially because he's been in the spotlight so much, is Ryan Atkins. And maybe that's because he's been pushed so many times by like Hunter or somebody who loved the trash talk side of things that he's just time and time again been like, I'm not here to race anybody. I'm not here to beat this guy or that guy. I'm here because I freaking love what I'm doing and I'm going to do it the same regardless of who shows up. And he's kind of remained like this aloof, kind of above the mess figure in no matter what goes down. And I think he just rocks that mentality, kind of like exactly like what you're talking about. So good freaking job. That's some good stuff.
Well, I think that if you can race like above that ego part, you know, then it doesn't take up headspace. And the sport there's so much to it that's mental. And in fact, there's something that I really thought he did that was awesome. He, like on one of his Tough Mudder jerseys, he wrote nobody on the back. And I remember thinking like, that's awesome. Like going into a race, just being like, I don't need to have my name. No one needs to know who I am. You know, like I'm out here for me. So I think that's really cool.
You know, it always raises the question, is kind of like the money thing. Like when the rich say it's not about the money, is that because they have the money or did they get the money because it was never about the money? Like what
Could he keep that going if he was taking 12th place?
Right.
Yeah.
I hope so. I think that he seems like that kind of person in life, but do those things change if you start taking some bad beats over and over and over? I don't know. But it seems like, Leigh Ann, you have it on the right track where you are in a place where you're racing from a stress-free standpoint, and that is huge.
Yeah, I mean, I feel for those girls that, you know, I think we saw it Faye a little last year, like when you have a lot of sponsors and a lot of people, that's your livelihood. You know, I think it definitely makes it more of a job instead of doing it for total like love for it, you know. But
so that's a good segue. We're towards the end here. Who do you want to thank? Who do you have that supports you, whether it's sponsors or just support crew around you that allows you to do what you're doing?
Well, I will say thanks to Human Octane. They've been like owning a small business and like having that philosophy behind why you do what you do. I will say that I wholeheartedly support Brent and that team. They're really in it for the right reasons, not just like, oh, they're trying to make money. Like they're really in it for just trying to promote the sport, promote the athletes. So I'll say a big thanks to them because that's been a really positive thing this year. But honestly, my mom comes to every single race and she's
awesome.
tired. And it's cute because she's so supportive, but she becomes kind of like the team mom for all the girls. Like when we line up, like everyone throws their clothes and
it's like cross country all over again. Toss your warm-ups to the team mom.
Yep. She's kind of like team mom. So, big thanks to her. And
Is she going to hear this? Is she a big old fan of the podcast?
I don't think she even knows what they are.
I think so either.
I made her listen to some with me in the car. So we'll see. If I tell her about it, I'm sure she will.
Benny, my mom this weekend said that she's been listening to a few. She figured out I was part of this. And she said, I really like the chemistry that you guys have, but sometimes it's just hard. He just, sometimes his language just gets in the way of what I'm trying to hear.
I immediately slapped my hand over my mouth because I never.
Yeah, I think there's a different dynamic with him and Hunter. She's like, yeah, you can see there's still a lot of Hunter left in this. Yeah, there is, isn't there?
I think I deliberately don't let myself picture who is listening to this, because when I do, I just go, oh my gosh, holy crap. Like I think about.
What do you think the first thing I thought of when she said, I've been listening to yours? What was the first thing we talked about on our first show? We talked about sex life and manscaping.
Yep. For the first 20 minutes. Dude, when we
forward button.
when we used to have, when I had Hunter on here and we were like going after sponsors kind of half-assedly, every time I'd be like, but please listen to this episode, not the most recent one or any other one. Just listen to this one right here, because I like went through and found the best, well-rounded, not what the hell are we listening to one. So you know what? People like what we're doing, and we can't change for everybody.
No, that wasn't a judgment. I just thought you'd appreciate that my mom's listening, and she's a little offended by some of your colorful language.
Well, I feel bad.
A few things that she shook her head and just thought, Bracken.
Well, Miss Crocker, I appreciate you listening. And
she's
what?
Definitely a Colleen, not a Miss Crocker.
Okay, Colleen, if I ever meet you, don't worry. I have the ability to filter based off of my company, and I would be very respectful, and I would love to meet you someday.
Oh, no, that was sweet.
So, Leigh Ann, you ready for rapid fire?
Sure, I guess.
That doesn't sound super enthusiastic.
That intimidates me.
We'll start with the easy stuff. We'll start with the stuff you know.
Bracken,
let's get into the stuff that you have to react to.
Let's switch punches. Let's go every other. You, me.
All right. Favorite running shoe of all time? Not OCR.
Nike.
Nike what? One shoe to rule them all.
Okay, well, it did just change. I will be honest, I've been converted. I like the Ultra Superiors.
Okay.
Ooh.
Prior to that, what was your go-to Nike trainer?
I use those super minimal Nike Zoom ones, like almost kind of like a marathon flat.
You're talking streak?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yep. Got a few streaks sitting over here.
Yeah.
I'm staring at two streaks right now.
Bracken, real quick, I feel like everyone thinks you're in this mysterious, like high quality studio. You want to just rotate your camera?
Mysterious, but it's high quality.
Can you just rotate it so we can see your epic shoe collection? You don't have to if you don't want to.
I don't know how much I can get away with this setup here, but
you got like a full on desktop.
You're gonna lose sound for a second. You're gonna lose sound.
Oh no, we still got sound. It's just ugly. Oh, that's a pretty freaking cool little area. All right, well,
so that's half the shoes. The other half are upstairs right now.
Nice. I thought you had like a full wall. I don't know why I pictured a whole wall. Like
over here, there is a wall, but the wall's blocked and half of it's upstairs. Doing a little spring cleaning. See,
it's smoke and mirrors, people. We look like we're super professional. I mean, ignore my closet, but we're really just in our mom's basement.
All right.
Okay. You're in a gorgeous area right now, but is that the most ideal place? Like if you could live anywhere in the world, favorite place to live and train?
I would pick this. I love it.
Nice. That's awesome.
Idaho is the hidden gem of the U.S.
I have to disagree and say that's North Carolina or East Tennessee.
I think that's hidden. Everyone loves North Carolina.
What are you talking about? Well, no, I should say East Tennessee. Nobody even thinks East Tennessee exists. They think of Nashville when they say Tennessee.
Whatever. Go get a banjo. We're talking about Idaho.
All right.
It was voted the most boring state in the U.S., but people can think that because we say that all the time. Like, oh, yeah, don't move here. It sucks.
Lots of potatoes.
Keep our gem as it is.
That's right.
Bracken, you're up.
All right. Favorite non-OCR athlete of all time?
Ooh. I'm gonna go with okay, I'm super inspired by Tom Brady, honestly. Like his story. I recently watched one of his documentaries, or one of the documentaries on him, and I was like, that is so badass. So
it is. How do you feel about the TB12 method? Did they get into that?
I don't think they did.
It's probably the only negative part of Tom Brady I found is that he's like this pseudoscience snake, like snake.
He's a snake?
Like he has this stuff that like flat earther type health beliefs.
Oh.
But other than that, I agree with you. Tom Brady is like, that's the story you want to have in life, right? Always overlooked, always overcoming and becoming the greatest of all time.
Yeah, it's super inspiring.
All right, favorite OCR athlete?
Probably Hobie Call.
Nice.
Good
Safe
pick.
call.
Favorite food and favorite drink?
You get one, Bracken.
Yeah, one food, one drink.
Okay.
I love blueberries. Those are probably my favorite food.
That is the most Idaho thing to ever say.
No, she could have said potatoes.
Yeah, I could have said potatoes. Well, I do like sweet potatoes, but blueberries are my favorite. Favorite drink? Coffee.
Do you want to plug your coffee shop? Where should people go when they are in Oregon?
Bugles Espresso. I don't know if you can see that.
Bugles or Beagles?
It's Bugles. It's okay, this is gonna get real hick, but my husband came up with it. Bugles is just the noise that like a male elk's like calls. Like
you have one over your shoulder.
Oh. That's actually a deer if I can see it.
It's a little dark.
Maybe not.
Did you shoot that or did he?
That one is his, but I have shot 5 elk in my life.
Ooh, bow or gun?
2 with a bow,
Oh,
3 with a gun.
You have just moved up on my perceived pecking order.
That's pretty epic.
OCR athletes.
I know. I wish they were in here. I'd show you them, but.
Bracken, I almost stepped on a copperhead today, so
I watched your Instagram story.
No biggie. Okay, coffee's your favorite. Okay, so most proud non-athletic moment.
Oh.
That's always a tough one for athletes.
I know, because they're like, most proud non-athletic.
What the hell else do I do in my life?
I know. Oh gosh.
What's up, husband?
Yeah, that's Duke.
Tell him to step in and tell us 800 and 1500 meter PRs for the family.
Oh yeah, what's your 800 PR?
I can't remember.
Oh, he lies. He says
False.
he can't remember.
No way you don't remember it.
150.
15.
Around 1.
What was it? 152. He says 152. I think
Point
to the 8.
what?
Point what?
It might have been 153. I really can't.
You really can't remember. Shows how
All right,
much.
we'll settle for his 1500 meter time.
What's your 1500 meter time?
Oh,
He's embarrassed.
he's out.
All right, we're going to call it 4:30 then. That's it.
I don't know. I think I got it out of him one time. He wouldn't even tell me.
Well, that's what them internets are for. We're going to find it.
Exactly.
I think we're proud. This probably isn't my true proudest, but I do think starting my coffee shop, I got it started when I was still 23. And
Impressive.
I mean, it was literally 10 days before I turned 24, but it was like, I'm doing it when I'm 23. And that's not necessarily my proudest, but I would say that I employ awesome young people, that it gives them a place to go to work that is super, it's just a positive environment. The theme is chase your dreams, and it allows people to have an income while they are chasing their dream in that stage of life where you're maybe don't want to become an adult yet, but you need to have some income. We have one girl that's recording her record in country music, and she is our manager.
Oh,
and
wow.
it's just it makes me really proud to create an environment where those people can thrive and have a positive environment so that they can keep like living a life they want to live, you know, like that stepping stone without having to maybe go get a job that crushes their soul, like behind
Oh,
a
I
desk.
like that.
Is this like Rocky Balboa's restaurant? You got pictures of yourself running races all over the place?
No, but we literally do. I should like post this somehow. Have this unicorn like themed like live your dream sign in the building because it's a drive-through, so no one sees the inside.
Oh, okay.
It's just like total hippie scene inside. So
Nice.
Well, Obstacle Dominator Nation, next time you're in Oregon, swing through Bugles Espresso.
yeah.
Bugles Espresso.
Yep.
All right. If you had only one quality workout session that you had to do for the rest of your life, just every time it was quality day, this is all you did. What's your go-to?
I do love my track workouts.
Yeah.
I do love having when I see like, oh, you're doing like 12, 6, 800, 400, like those type of intervals. I do like those days. Those
You
are
ever
my favorite.
spike up for those anymore?
No, but I wear my flats. I wear those thin shoes.
Yep.
So I can.
I ran an 800 this weekend.
Did
I
you?
raced an 800 and I spiked up.
Ooh, what was it?
My calves and soles were so sore afterwards. I haven't spiked up in a long time and it got me.
I was gonna say you probably really tore up after that.
Yep.
You can't say that without saying the time.
Oh, Benny, I'm gonna be like her husband. I don't want to talk about the time.
Well, you're the
I'll
host.
tell you I took second
Ooh.
in a field that had two different people who have run at Olympic trials and 4 different people who were all American in college. Everyone was
Ooh.
post-collegiate. A buddy of
Wow.
mine, his name's John DeWitt. We're gonna have him on the show eventually. He's a 2-time Olympic qualifier or Olympic trials competitor for a marathon.
Well, like you told Leigh Ann, this is what the internets are for. So we'll
No, I
find out.
ran 203, but it was 32 degrees and snowing.
And you're at what, 6,500? Oh no, wait, sorry, you're in. You're not.
650 feet.
Okay, I don't know why I always think you're still in Colorado Springs. It's been years.
But I spiked up and ran an 800 in the snow, and it had 20 mile per hour winds. It was
That's
awesome.
awesome.
So it was his birthday, and we kicked off his birthday by running. Everyone ran an all-out 800.
That's awesome.
It was a blast.
Doesn't that sound like a bad idea to
my
do when
legs
it's that
still
cold?
aren't over it. You just can't get out as hard.
Okay.
That's it. All right, last one. If you could be a professional athlete in any sport, sorry, not last one. What am I saying? Last about sports. If you could be a professional athlete in any sport other than OCR, what would it be?
Beach volleyball.
Nice.
Yeah, dude.
Like
hey,
May action.
Yeah.
next time we're ever at a race together, we need to find we need a whole group and go play some sand volleyball. By the way, women's volleyball is absolutely terrifying. I dated this girl when I was in college who was on the volleyball team, and I was like, yeah, I'm pretty good, and then I went and watched them practice, and I was like, this is absolutely terrifying. I would not even try to touch this ball. There's no way.
Yeah.
First
I
time
know.
you ever said that. Boom.
What'd you say?
Don't worry about it. Moving on. I'm going to be doing back-to-back here. One book that everyone should read.
Ooh. A New Earth. Eckhart Tolle.
Eckhart Tolle. Yeah. Actually, I think I have it right here.
I just discovered his stuff and I absolutely love it.
I have not. I may have to dive into it.
That is surprising and not what I thought you were going to say at all.
Yeah. Put it on audiobook. I put it on my road trips back to work, and
I just did my first audiobook in years last week I started running to audiobooks.
Really?
Last week, yeah.
Dude, that's all I do. What are you listening to out there? You like to get lost in a fantasy, or you like personal development or science and training? Yeah, you.
Well, I did one. So
Okay, well, what was it?
It was Jack Reacher.
Oh, okay. All right.
Just pure fiction, crime thriller. I thought I wanted something that would absorb me and not make me think.
Yeah, I'm running scared constantly because I'm listening to an audiobook right now about necromancers raising dead people to kill you and stuff. And so I'm constantly like, oh my God, what's behind me?
I feel like that's a very Benny thing.
Makes me run very
All
fast.
right, Benny, last one. Dial her up.
Last one. Favorite. You get to listen to one song for the rest of your life. What is it?
oh, This Girl's on Fire.
Nice. Benny, what about you?
One song. Oh, shiza. Probably Banana Pancakes, Jack Johnson.
Okay. I heard that today on our
Oh, nice.
station.
That's a sign.
Toxic, Britney Spears.
Yeah. Because I'm toxic. That's awesome.
Never gets old for me.
Well, Leigh-Anne, thank you so much for coming on. We're probably gonna have you on for a second round. Wait, real quick. What is your? Wow, I almost feel like this is right up the trash talk alley. I was gonna say, like, what's your main goal for this year? But it's kind of hard to put a stamp on things when you're going from this. Like, look, I want to be happy when I race. That's my goal.
Yeah.
So
She still has a goal. In the middle of a workout, her mind keeps coming back to something. What is it?
I mean, I would love to podium in an NBC race. But I'd also, I'd love to just get in the top 10 at Tahoe. I've always just had
last year?
What was that?
Were you 17th last year?
Yeah, I hit,
Me too.
I just had a tank last year. I ran Duke did Leadville, and I ended up pacing him for almost 40 miles the week before West Virginia. And I couldn't bounce back from that. It was just like my body,
Benny, chill.
sorry, there's a spider and I'm trying to kill it.
anyways, I just knew I could have done a lot better, but my body it was like my adrenals were just shot, and it's really hard to come back out of that.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I know
ran
that
40 miles.
I just need
That's a long.
What was that?
I said 40 miles is enough to get your adrenals going there if you're not ready for that.
Yeah, it was. And when it's not planned, it's one thing if you can okay, we're going to plan for that. But
Was that the longest run of your life?
Yeah.
Yeah. Prior to that, what was the longest you'd ever run?
32.
Okay, that's pretty far.
I'd ran, but it was 2 years ago. I did a 50K, some mountainous 50K, and that crushed my. So.
Benny, what's the longest you've ever run?
16, and it was an accident. It was not on purpose.
Mine was an accident too.
We were trying to get to the top of Pikes Peak in Colorado, and we only brought enough fuel and stuff just to get to the top. I mean, there's snow at the top, and I'm just in it looks like I'm racing in OCR. I've got no shirt. I don't have any water or anything, because our idea was we were going to get to the top at 14,000 feet and then just hitch a ride down. Well, right near the top, the trail got so lost in snow that we ended up having to turn around and suddenly double the duration. So we were dead for the next 2 or 3 days. It was pretty funny.
You didn't make it near the top then if you did 16.
No, dude, we were just
Not
above
to
the 2
derail
mile.
your story, but it's a full 13 to the top.
I might
get
have
up there for shorter than 12.
I might have the number wrong then, because we were at just the tree line, where it turns into tundra. And that's pretty damn near the top.
I could still be 3 miles from the top.
Huh.
That's
Maybe
back a ton.
Shiza, maybe it's more. I don't know. But the point is, it was straight up and down. So
You might have done
duration
20.
was hours and hours. What would you equivalent that to a flat race?
I don't know, but you might have done a full 20 that day.
It was 6 hours. So whatever that equates to.
Yeah, tree line might be 10.
Okay. But 10 up?
10 up. So you might have got a full 20.
Oh my gosh, that would explain that. And that's just straight up and down. Leigh-Anne, have you ever done Pikes Peak? That's a pretty famous 14er.
I have not. No.
It is steep as all living hell. And you start at, I think, about 7,000 feet if you're actually starting
It's
on
not
bar trail.
that steep. Let's be clear about that.
Dude.
The entire thing is runnable.
What?
I don't know if you ever get above, what would you say, 20% on there?
No,
25
dude.
tops?
Are you kidding me? The entire first section of bar is like rotating between 30 to 40.
False.
Dude.
Categorically wrong.
Dude, there's no way that is not at
As
least.
soon as we're done with this, go on Strava and then post it to your Obstacle Dominator Instagram.
You know what? I will do. Actually,
40, that bar trail never touches 40.
I will take that bet and we'll post as soon as we're done
Are you
recording
confusing
here.
it with the incline?
No, the incline's up to 60%.
Oh my
Well,
God.
it's steps, so I don't really know how you quantify that.
All right, Leigh Ann, this is about to
Derail.
dissolve into nothingness.
All right. Well, we want to respect your time. We've had you on for quite a bit longer than we talked about at the beginning. Thank you so much for coming on, Leigh Ann. Good luck in your season, and we're going to be seeing more of you.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. This is really fun. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
So you said goal is NBC podium.
Mhm.
I assume that just means what used to be, we're talking U.S. National Series. So any U.S. National Series podium, how about you come on after you get that
Ooh.
Okay, deal.
deal? All right. Good luck with the coffee business.
Thank you. Appreciate it, guys.
Have a good one.
Peace out.
You too. Bye-bye.
Visit ObstacleDominator.com for show notes, training, and racing resources, and leave your question for Benny and Bracken.